So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. As we get ready to jump off here and see what is going on in the world today, I've got Miss Kitty in the room. I don't know where she's going. Miss Kitty is actually under my chair, which is unusual for her. There she goes. Maybe not. I don't know what she's doing. There she goes. Miss Kitty, everybody, joining me for the moment until she decides to run off. Now, naturally, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and you cannot see what's going on. And I'll say hello to the people that have chimed in so far, the people that have chosen to say hi. Helter is here today. Dragon is here, as well as Monkey, Brian, Raccoon, Gary Edwards is here. Awful Workplaces is here. He says he's been a while since he's been able to come in. RL30 is here. Prime Mover wants to know where the monkeys are. They're in South Carolina. Sven is here from Michigan. Donna is here. Donna Beaver says thumbs up, like, and share. And please do if you don't mind, people. I'll take all the help I can get. Fluke Man is here as we get ready to jump off. Yeah, there is an update. I don't have a story pulled up on the monkeys that escaped in South Carolina, but they claim to have caught 5 more. So there's only 13 still on the loose. 13 on the loose, but it only takes 1 to jump off the next pandemic. Just saying. Miss is here, as well as John, here for the cat news and H12. Well, Monkey's not in the room. Monkey's not in the room. He's out in the hallway tormenting Granny Smith because he's trying to play with her and she's not having it. I can hear them. I can hear them carrying on as we get ready to take a look at what is going on in the world today. There's a lot going on. It's hard to even keep up, especially with all the whistleblowers and people coming forward now that Trump won the election and all the things, all the cover-ups and everything that have been going on that they want to come forward with. They're going to lose their jobs. And that's what Miss asks here. Did they ever find all of those monkeys? Well, there were 43 that escaped, and they claim to have caught, I believe, 30 of them so far. So there's still 13 of them running around, allegedly. Allegedly. Reuters. Republicans win majority of U.S. House seats in a government sweep. Yeah, it happened. President-elect Trump's Republican Party will control both houses of Congress when he takes office in January. Decision Desk HQ projected Monday, enabling him to push an agenda of slashing taxes and shrinking the federal government. Reuters is under the impression that because they're all Republicans, they're going to cooperate. That's not necessarily the case. Republicans had already secured a U.S. Senate majority of at least 52 to 46, according to Edison Research, which projected, and DDHQ projected that would hold at least 218 seats in the House of Representatives, with 8 races yet to be called in Tuesday's election. During his first term, Trump's biggest achievements was sweeping tax cuts that are due to expire next year. Interesting. I guess people didn't appreciate those tax cuts the first time around. The legislation and Democratic President Joe Biden's signature $1 trillion infrastructure law both came during periods when the parties controlled both chambers of Congress. By contrast, during the past 2 years of divided government, Biden has had little success in passing legislation, and Congress has struggled to perform its most basic functions of providing money needed to keep the government open. They spent too much and they can't control it. And his own people were working against him because even they were sick of it. Basically, the thin Republican House majority has been fractious, tossing out its first speaker, Kevin McCarthy, and routinely bucking his successor, Speaker Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson, as I catch up a couple here. Tuck is here, wants people to like, share, and subscribe, of course, on both channels. Gary says 13 monkeys take the last train to Clarkston. Are you quoting a monkey song there? Or you could go with the Bee Gees and go to Boston instead. Sven says the most sophisticated accounting system ever used, and it takes us a week to count it. Yeah, well, it's not the counting system that's the problem. Chillin' Dave has joined us. Glad you could make it today. But yeah, it looks like he's going to have a clean sweep. But again, that does not, by any means, guarantee that there will be any cooperation from Republicans just because they are Republican. I know that a lot of times they like to vote party lines, and really they do that just to be obnoxious, I think, and to create division. But that doesn't mean they're going to cooperate with that. Doesn't mean they're going to toe the line. Doesn't mean they're going to go easily with Trump when he starts rattling this stuff off, because it sounds like he means what he says. That he wants to get rid of the illegal aliens. He wants to cut the taxes. He wants to do a lot of things. He wants to revamp a lot of government agencies that apparently demonstrate no oversight. And it really kind of needs to be done. It really kind of needs to be done. So we'll see how this goes. Now this, speaking of which, about Harris, this has been all over the news today. And this one is going to be a Washington Examiner article. I found this very interesting. After blowing $1 billion, Harris Fight Fund is begging for more money. More money. She needs more money. Yeah, wait till you find out why. This is interesting. She raised and spent $1 billion. It was more than that, okay? Raised and spent $1 billion in her losing presidential campaign and left behind a stunning $20 million debt. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris is begging tired donors for more money for the Fight Fund. In a new fundraising email to donors, Kamala's headquarters wrote, "Is there anything we can say to convince you to make a contribution to support the Harris Fight Fund program today?" The memo from the Harris Victory Fund, a joint fundraising committee authorized by Harris for president, Democratic National Committee, and several state Democratic parties, said the money will help fund races that have yet to be decided. And it says in the note, the Democrats appear to concede that the party is in shambles. First and foremost, we want to acknowledge the fear, confusion, and sadness many of you are feeling at this moment, asking for a minimum of $50. But what if we told you that you read that there are U.S. Senate and House races that are either too close to call or within the margin of recounts or certain legal challenges? What if we told you they all need our help to get across the finish line? And what if we told you that your support today will help make sure we succeed and count every vote in these final races? That's not the problem. Do you want to know why she's $20 million in debt after spending over $1 billion on her campaign? Who wants to know the truth? I'm going to tell you here in a second. Kimberly has joined us. RL30 says, I wouldn't even know how to spend $1 billion. I wouldn't want to spend $1 billion. Helter says this would be easy to fix. Just ask the celebrities to kick in a few million to pay the debt and see what they say. Gary says 13 illegal immigrants take to the last train to Tijuana. There you go. The reason that they're $20 million in debt is because the people on their campaign staff haven't been paid. Let that sink in. She spent over $1 billion on advertising, television and radio ads, computer ads, mailers, murals, and people knocking door to door, and signage and all of that, and billboards, but neglected to pay the people who worked on her campaign, apparently. And to the point where she's 20 million in debt. Nice to see where your priorities are, sweetheart. And you're supposed to fix the country's economy? Seriously. And on a side note, I had read an article where Trump offered to pay this. He offered to pay this, which is probably grandstanding, something to make him look good. But he offered to pay it, apparently, which, in all fairness, those people deserve their money. If they worked there and they weren't volunteers, they deserve their damn money. Nature Nerd says the Democrats contesting the election. LOL. Exactly. Chillin says Democrats spending money they don't have is no shock. Nature Nerd says mismanaged campaign and mismanaged country. And there's Jane. Glad you were able to join us here today. Yeah, she doesn't have any money. She spent more than she had and didn't pay her workers. And now she still owes $20 million and is still begging for people to make campaign contributions after basically burning over $1 billion on the campaign, which is insane money. Insane money. Burned over $1 billion. And has the nerve to beg for more money, and has the nerve to have us somehow believe she was going to run the country and fix the problems with the economy. You can't even manage your campaign. You can't even get your employees paid. And you have the nerve to beg after you lost. The nerve. How does the old adage go? If I had your nerve in my tooth, I'd lose my mind. That is so awful. Raccoon says, didn't she take Biden's campaign money? Yes, a lot of the money that she had in her campaign coffers was transferred from the Biden campaign, which in theory is not legal. And so that's still up in the air too, because I don't know what happened with that, because there was a lot of Congress had a huge problem with it. I don't know if anything will ever be done about it, but that's technically not legal to do. In theory, the money is supposed to be returned to whoever donated it, and then they can redonate it if they choose to. Dragon says she should ask Oprah for the money. Yeah, I know. Rumor has it, and Oprah denied it, but rumor has it that Oprah was paid for that interview, that staged interview, upwards of $1 million. But Oprah says that she was not personally paid anything, which could be equivocation. Just because she was not directly personally paid doesn't mean someone else wasn't. Nature Nerd says, would Kamala bank up America and not pay government workers too if she had to run? And Savage says, Kamala looks tired. I bet. Tuck says, does that mean the Fey young man with the stack of pamphlets who knocked on my door someday back got ripped off? Unless he was a volunteer and was just doing it for free, he probably didn't get paid properly. And Semper 5 has joined us. Glad you could make it. Fluke Man says, I don't believe her. Check her safety deposit boxes, mattresses, floorboards, foreign bank accounts. No kidding. And RL30 says, many celebrities get paid for endorsements. That is correct. And Chillin says, TV stations made bank on all the election garbage from all sides. Yes, they did. And as everybody falls in line, as we've been seeing this, where suddenly everybody wants to whistleblow and suddenly everybody wants to get on the Trump train because they're afraid of losing their jobs or afraid of getting in trouble for covering things up or lying about things or whitewashing transparency or whatever. NBC News article here. Another big story for today, judge in the Trump hush money case has delayed key ruling ahead of the sentencing. He pushed it back again. He probably wants to see where he stands politically. Remember, judges are not necessarily impartial. They are very political, especially if it's an elected position. So here you go. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's New York criminal trial delayed the key ruling Tuesday on whether the president-elect's conviction should be set aside, according to correspondence between the parties. He just wants to see where he stands. He's afraid. And I bet that the district attorney in New York that prosecuted him is afraid. And I bet you that Phony Willis is afraid. And everybody else with all these bullshit trials is scared right now. Because everybody already knew it was a flim-flam. Everybody already knew that it was a snow job. Now they're really in it. And so this judge is probably sitting there like, shit. I really stepped in it by taking this case. What do I do? I'll just postpone this a little longer and just see what my options are. I bet you. In a letter to Judge Juan Merchan, prosecutors said they agreed with Trump's request for a stay to consider how to proceed given the new status as president-elect. Of course. Of course. Here it all comes. Here it all comes. Oh, my God. Kimberly says, and yet she wants to be appointed president these last 2 months. Imagine the damage that woman could do to our country in 2 months. No kidding. And Tuck says one of Oprah's LLCs or her charities or cronies probably received $1 million. That's a good guess. Monkey says, how can Harris do macroeconomics if she can't even do microeconomics of paying her voting workers? And Thomas has joined us. Thomas has joined us, as well as Keisha. How are you, Keisha? Keisha, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. Gary says 13 whistleblowers take the Trump train to litigation. Exactly. But they're all falling in line now, and we're seeing all the whistleblowing, like the story we read yesterday, where FEMA instructed people not to help people in Florida who had Trump signage in front of their home, to put them at the back of the list. That's violating their own legal standing. That's violating their own contracts. They did it, and they made up some crappy excuses for it. But they did it. Absolutely incredible. But this is just another example of that. This guy wants to see where he stands. Is Trump going to expose that this was a total fraud and that I was involved, and then my career is over? Let me just postpone this and see what my options are. I bet. Oh, Keisha says I sent an email, but they told me there's no more they can do. I'm sorry, Keisha. I hope you're doing all right. Without getting into it too much, because I don't know how much she wants to talk about, Keisha is not well. Keisha is not well. So, yeah, I don't check the email too often. I'll go back and look again, Keisha. And, of course, my wife and I are praying for you. Massachusetts in the news. Tribune News Service. Mass landlords sue Boston, and they say the city withheld public records in order to protect Mayor Michelle Wu, hiding her unlawful rent control lobbying. Unbelievable. You remember Wu? She's the one that had the No White People party, No Whites Allowed Christmas party, and took a lot of flack for that at the time. So a trade association for Massachusetts landlords is in a legal battle with the city of Boston over public records. It says the city has withheld to hide the unlawful lobbying from housing advocates that influence the mayor's stalled rent control plan. Douglas Quattrochi, executive director of Mass Landlords, which filed a lawsuit against the city of Boston in Suffolk Superior Court last year. alleges in an August 7th affidavit that the city failed to produce 10 documents he believes to exist around the formation of the city's Rent Stabilization Advisory Committee. Quote, I found the combined response to be primarily off topic, missing documents I believe to exist, missing another document I know to exist, in bad faith, designed to hide unlawful lobbying activities, developer interests, and donor influence. Quattrochi, whose organization opposes rent control, wrote in the affidavit. I believe Boston delayed and incomplete responses are consistent with a desire to shield from scrutiny certain public officials, the mayor in particular, and the unregistered lobbyists who unlawfully advance their private interests at public expense. So basically, Wu took money from lobbyists illegally to allow herself to be influenced to initiate certain types of rent control in the city of Boston, which is unlawful. And this guy's got her caught up in it, and he's taking the city to court to expose it all. So there we go. And there you go, Gary, again, 13 lobbyists take the Wu train behind closed doors. Who remembers Bozo the Clown? Do you remember Bozo? I know, it's just random thought because I'm crazy. But the Bozo the Clown show, the East Coast version, because there was more than one Bozo the Clown show. The East Coast version, where he's running around in a train yard and there's like green trolleys there. That is the last stop on the C train in Brighton. I know where it is. Raccoon says, love the voice, sounded a Southern gentleman. Well, he's supposed to be an attorney, I think. But apparently he knows there are documents that he knows exist, as well as other documents that he's been told about that they have not acknowledged, that will indicate that she took money illegally from lobbyists to influence her decision. Is anyone surprised? Jane says, remember Bozo the Clown, Red Wild Hair. I used to love that show. And the show was taped live at the East Coast. I'm not too familiar with the one that was filmed in Chicago, but the East Coast version was done live. And so when you watch it and you're watching them trying to do juggling or something like that, and they're screwing it up and they're dropping stuff all over the place, and they got the kids, and kids are running up on stage, and Bozo's like, yeah, not you, kid, go back. And it's funny to go back and rewatch it. It's on disc. It's on disc. Kimberly remembers Bozo. Jane says, oh, you're talking to Keisha, of course, there. Lore is there, joining the chat briefly to wish Keisha to get well. Yes, please do. Please do. Please do. Bozo the Clown was classic. What is his name? Carol Spinney, who was the actor who wore Big Bird's costume, played one of the clowns on the original Bozo show. Actually, I have it. Let me pull it out here if I can remember where I put it. Bozo the Clown. Again, the East Coast version. I don't know that the Midwestern or Chicago version was ever put on disc, but that's the East Coast Bozo right there. Let me get the glare off of it. I got 2 volumes of it. It's not all the episodes because there's no way you could do it. Kind of like all the episodes of Mr. Rogers or all the episodes of Sesame Street. There's just too many. But they're fun to watch because they're just so goofy. And like I was just saying right there, that right there in the costume, he often wore costumes. That's Carol Spinney, who was the person in the costume for Big Bird. And he was, I think, doing this before he got the Sesame Street contract. I know, random stuff. Random stuff. I'm crazy. Uh, anyways, as we move around here, more of what you already knew. More of what you already knew. Daily Mail article. Water chemicals may partially explain disease explosion in young people. You think? You think? Like, I mean, how many people here filter their water already because they know something is wrong with it? They don't trust it. They don't like that they dump a ton of chemicals in the water. It's bad enough that it reeks of chlorine coming out of the tap. And it's got fluoride and a bunch of other garbage in it. Okay? No surprise. Into the article. People with higher levels of these chemicals. Oh, I've started at the wrong place. The new research shows that these toxic substances damage the microbiome. Am I starting at the wrong spot? I must be. And let me recenter that. Forever chemicals found in tap water. There we go. Food wrappers and shampoo may explain an explosion of disease in young people. The new research shows that these toxic substances damage the microbiome, the delicate protective balance of bacteria in the gut. People with higher levels of these chemicals, called per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, had lower levels of gut bacteria that prevent inflammation, which has been linked to diseases such as colon cancer. In addition to examining the microbiome, the researchers tested how healthy participants' kidneys were. Years later, they found that the forever chemicals may have been responsible for up to 50% decrease in kidney function over a 4-year period. That's bad. PFAS, which are dubbed forever chemicals because they don't break down in our bodies or environment, have been used in manufacturing since the 1940s to make products stain, grease, and water resistant. But research linking the chemicals to immune system problems, pregnancy complications in kidneys, and testicular cancer have been growing. It comes as researchers elsewhere look to the gut as one of the potential causes behind the uptick of colon cancer in young people, with the number of people under 55 being diagnosed with the cancer nearly doubling over the past 25 years. Meanwhile, a 2024 study showed that more than 70 million Americans may live in homes with PFAS-contaminated drinking water. This year, the EPA created a law that requires public drinking water systems to start testing and limiting their water for PFAS by 2025. Yeah, they can test for it, but what are you going to do? Plus, a lot of that comes from plastic. And, I mean, you got water pouring out of plastic. You've got probably plastic pipes running all through your house and out to the street. That kind of piping. And you've got it all your food's wrapped in it. It's probably cooked in it. If you've got pans that have any kind of coating on them, you're probably eating it. You know it's all PVC piping everywhere. While the Biden administration is trying to convince us there's still lead pipes anyplace, in America anyway. Flukeman says, do you still watch them or keeping the DVDs for other reasons? I had watched them. I had actually watched these with my kids, and I still got them. And I would watch them again at some point because they're just hilarious. They really are. Even as an adult, it's like, wow, these are pretty funny. Nature Nerd says the Terrifier series is the most gory clown horror film. He's talking about clowns now. I've never seen Terrifier. It doesn't sound interesting to me. Keisha says, when I lived in Fulton County, that stuff was undrinkable. I'm not surprised. Jane says, go to DeKalb Farmers Market to get water every Tuesday, not drinking stuff from the faucet. Yeah, it should be filtered or at least boiled if you can't afford a filter. Absolutely. You can't trust what's in it. You can't trust that it's been properly cleaned, and you can't trust the chemicals that they dump in it, and they're killing us. You shouldn't drink out of a plastic bottle either. All that one-use plastic bottle, they call it a one-use bottle because You're only supposed to use it one time. It can't be recycled either. It's supposed to be disposed of. You can't even recycle that stuff. Raccoon says their shower gets the chlorine off and smells like pool water. Kitchen tap can get that wet dog smell. Tuck says, I was never afraid of clowns. You guys are still on the clowns. When I was 12, I read It by Stephen King. Still not afraid of clowns. Thomas says garlic. Okay. Jane says too much chlorine messes with human sex hormones, especially children. And Cyberjack Sr. has joined us. Yeah, it's not safe. They're killing us all with this stuff. They're killing us all with this stuff. And then they come out with the studies. Oh, congratulations. This is what we already knew. It's nice that you're acknowledging it, but what's going to be done about it? Oh, well, we'll make a regulation that they have to test it more often. Yeah, that's great. In the meantime, we could be 3-4 generations away from extinction because of microplastics stuck inside the human body, killing our liver and kidney function. Brian doesn't like the noise that plastic water bottles make. RL30 says 100% boil, filter, etc. Clean water plumbing can get nasty over time. Absolutely. Sven doesn't like clowns. There we go. I had to bring up Bozo. Bozo's not intimidating. Bozo is your friend. Bozo is your friend. As well as the water, we're having problems with chickens too. This is a different kind of a problem. This is actually a Biden problem. It's Biden's fault. And this is a Wall Street Journal article. Remember when the Wall Street Journal used to just talk about money? Although this kind of counts. 1 million culled chickens show pitfalls of Biden's meatpacking revamp. There it is. With 1.3 million chickens starving to death in barns across northern Iowa, state agriculture officials need to decide what to do. The chicken's owner, a company named Pure Prairie Poultry, had declared bankruptcy in late September and said it could no longer afford the feed. Eventually, state officials decided to euthanize them. And this is just one example. Minnesota-based Pure Prairie launched in 2019 with aspirations to market premium air-chilled chicken to Midwestern supermarkets. The Biden administration and U.S. Agriculture Department had loftier ambitions. Pure Prairie could be part of a wide-ranging effort to inject new competition into the more than $200 billion meatpacking industry, dominated by a handful of huge companies, that being Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef, and they control roughly 85% of U.S. beef processing. 3 years later, some recipients of government grants or loan guarantees under the initiative have yet to break ground on new facilities. Meat industry executives say the projects that are running haven't gained any noticeable market share. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack and funding recipients defended the initiative, saying its success can't be judged on the basis of one company and that more time is needed to gauge its impact. If these places are all declaring bankruptcy and the chickens are starving and the FDA is going out and killing them all because you can't just let the chickens starve to death and lay there and rot, then I would call it a failure. Okay? The Biden administration in 2021 unveiled an initiative to kickstart smaller meat packers and help the U.S. food system avoid supply shocks, such as those during the C virus pandemic, when shutdowns of meat plants backed up livestock on farms and prompted farmers to euthanize the animals. Okay, this is where you get really screwed up. And this is where the Biden administration wasted money with this initiative. Think about the logic here. They backed Kickstarters for these meat packers to help the food industry because they forced meat packers to stop operations and kill their animals. Isn't that kind of your fault? And what good is it for you to invest in other organizations to start up operations that they're not going to be allowed to move forward with? that are going to get crushed as soon as these meat packers are able to open their doors again. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of money. Unbelievable. Sven says, stop listening to the feds. They're likely stupid if they work for the feds. Oh, they know what they're doing, Sven. They know what they're doing. Gary likes clowns. We're still talking about clowns here. Emmett Kelly, Lou Jacobs. Nobody knows who Emmett Kelly is anymore, Gary. Clarabelle. Oh, poor Clarabelle. RL30 says the government really likes to kill animals. Yeah, they do. And Kimberly says, so they just killed them. Someone could have at least been rehomed. Rehoming the chickens. Yeah, they could give them away. They could have let them go into the wild. I don't know. But yeah, they love doing that. They love poisoning them and then burying them in mass graves because they do it all the time. Food and Drug Administration must kill like 1 billion animals a year. It's insane. It's insane how many of these animals they kill and euthanize and they bury them. But this was a foolhardy venture. It says more than 70 companies received a piece of $325 million in grants. The USDA also guaranteed more than $700 million in additional loans and projects. And that money got wasted, and these animals were all killed for nothing. They were raised, lived in hell, because the conditions in these types of industrial farms are horrible, just to be murdered for no reason. Nature Nerd says we should avoid euthanization of animals if possible. Evil and stupid. Where did PETA go? I have no idea. And RL30 says taking care of a few chickens is easy and you get free eggs. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Absolutely. Speaking of stupid decisions, although I agree with the Pentagon on this one, but I have a different question than this article asks, I think. And this is going to be the New York Post, talking about something related to 9/11, actually. Pentagon appeals a judge's ruling that would let 9/11 terrorists take plea deals and escape the death penalty. U.S. Department of Defense is challenging the decision of a military judge to reinstate 3 9/11 terrorist plea deals, that guarantee they'd be spared the death penalty. The Pentagon pledged in a November 8th letter to victims' families it would fight to delay guilty plea hearings. The announcement followed a months-long back and forth between the Department of Justice, the Office of Military Commissions, and attorneys for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the accused architect of the al-Qaeda attacks, and 2 alleged co-conspirators. Oh, wow, I'll try this here. Walid Mohammed Saleh Mubarak bin Atash, and, that was one name, Mustafa Ahmed Adam al-Haswani. Adam? Shouldn't it be Adama? I guess he wanted an American or westernized sounding name. And that's that is not Saddam Hussein, apparently. It looks like him, shit. But these are the pictures that look like they were clipped out of magazines from the 1940s or something. Those are terrible photographs. Where the hell did they get these photographs from? All 3 men have been held at the U.S. military prison on the coast of Cuba since 2003. The lawyers' deal with prosecutors sparked outrage on July 31st when military prosecutors confirmed they had entered into pre-trial agreements with the terrorists in which they would plead guilty for their involvement in the attacks in exchange for taking the death penalty off the table. Okay. Now, oh no. Here's the trick. They've been sitting in Guantanamo since 2003. And it's a death row sentencing, correct? Why are they still there? Can someone explain that? I have my issues with the justice system because it doesn't work. Okay, for the most part, it really doesn't work. And there are people that are put in jail, put in prison, that they shouldn't be there. We read the articles all the time about people that were released that were innocent. There are people that got really lengthy sentences that didn't deserve them. Okay. But if you know without a shadow of a doubt that they're guilty, especially in a situation like this, shouldn't sentencing have already been carried out? Why are we more than 20 years later and they're still sitting there with judges arguing about what they're going to do? Shouldn't that have long since been dealt with? I mean, seriously. That's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment. Jane wants to know, have we heard that ex-President Clinton got rid of 12 million immigrants when he was the president? I've heard that. And Obama, too, threw out a bunch of them. Why are these guys still sitting in jail? Why are they still sitting in jail if you are sure they are guilty? There's no question. There's no question. Sven says, this sounds bad, but we pay bad people and do all sorts of shady things all the time. Were we behind paying these people? I don't know. We could have been. And I'm not trying to give some of the dirty stuff that governments do a pass either. But my point being, I mean, this is where you turn a public menace into a public burden because taxpayers are funding their existence. If you know they're guilty, get it over with. Just get it over with. I'm with Hussein. Remember with Saddam Hussein when he was in court. What are we in court for? You know you're going to execute me. Let's just get this mess over with. This is a joke. John says, instead of law enforcement, we need security forces. Well, the UN would love to step in and help you with that. They would love to step in and help you with that, okay? Oh, in case, oh, I shouldn't even show this. In case you were worried, I got this off of social media, and I'm going to show you an image. I hope you're sitting down. This is the kind of stuff that's been circulating on social media. And that, of course, is Jabba the Hutt, who says that he's not going to sleep with anybody while Trump is president. It says, it's up to us women now. I'm refusing to sleep with any men for 4 years. I'm refusing to sleep with any men for 4 years. And I've been seeing a lot of videos. This is from a video. I don't know who that is. I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that with these ultra liberal meltdowns. But I just think this in particular is really funny because it's really a blessing. She's telling Bib Fortuna that she's not going to sleep. No sleep no dupdo men makipo Jedi. She's not going to sleep with any men for 4 years. And Tuck says, sexy. I know, it breaks your heart, doesn't it? It breaks your heart, doesn't it, Tuck? Oh, my God. Nature Nerd says, why do foreign terrorists get a trial if they are not U.S. citizens? I have no idea. And never mind the fact that apparently it would be a military tribunal anyways, wouldn't it? I mean, they're being held in Guantanamo. Shouldn't that be a military tribunal, and shouldn't they have already been executed? Unbelievable. And what's that? Kimberly says we're housing them, feeding them, giving them medicine, dental care on the taxpayers' dime for over 20 years. Yes, that is right. That is correct. There you go, Tuck. He knows. Talking to Han Solo there. Oh, Prime. I'm not reading that. I'll put that up there real quick, but I'm not reading it. Forget it, Prime. I'm not reading that one. But, there's a lot of people, apparently. We read the article the other day that searches on Google for leaving the country and moving to Canada or Australia or New Zealand have increased by 2,500%. Have increased by 2,500% in the last few days, as people who are cowards, who are sore losers, who aren't going anywhere, by the way. They will never leave. They will never leave the country. It's all talk. It's all talk. But the cruise lines have a solution for you. RL30 says people on social media overestimate their importance. Yes, they do. And Jane says what, they're leaving? Yes. They're not going anywhere. They're just doing the research because it's all talk. But they're not going anywhere. Fox News article, cruise lines offer 4-year journeys for Americans that are mourning Trump's win in a system called Skip Forward. And there's a huge problem with this, and I'll tell you what it is in a moment, because I did read this one. A cruise line recently introduced a package for ocean enthusiasts willing to set sail for 4 years, days after Trump won the November 5th election. Villa Vi Residences announced its Skip Forward package on November 7th. The Skip Forward package is part of the company's Tour La Vie program, which starts at around $40,000 a year. Residents have the flexibility to join their customized journey at any port during the continuous global adventure for up to 4 years. While the company did not explicitly mention the election, Villa V Residencies cheekily named its 2-year program Midterm Selection, a nod to the 2026 midterms. The years-long program is called Escape from Reality, and the 3-year journey is called Everywhere But Home. According to the company's website, the 4-year package is $160,000 per person for a double room, or $250,000 for a single occupancy cabin. Pay once and never worry about it again, the site reads. The moment you step on board, your journey begins. Leave behind the familiar and embrace the unknown as you navigate the world's most iconic and inspiring locations. What's the problem with this? Anybody know what's wrong with this here? Brian says Timcast's theory is that those women are faking those meltdowns to get views and attention, and that they have narcissistic personalities. That's possible. They could be fakes. You can't trust everything you see on social media by a long shot. Nature Nerd says New Zealand has volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, and an authoritarian government with no rights. Oh, they fit right in there then. That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. Tuck wants the cruise to sell out. Nature Nerd says Skip Forward program sounds like a creepy movie where elites are on board for 4 years. And that really almost hits the nail on the head there, Nature Nerd. The people that are crying, with the exception of celebrities who said they were going to leave if Trump won, everyone else who's crying about it, there's no way they could afford something like this. They can't afford to pay attention, let alone a cruise. They couldn't afford a cruise for 4 days, let alone 4 years. These are people that are living check to check, that are in debt up to their eyeballs, that probably owe a fortune in student loans, that are one payment away from having their cars repossessed, and they're going to order a 4-year cruise? Unbelievable. That's cute. It's cute, but most people can't afford it. Most people can't afford that. And the ones who can, they don't need the cruise. You think Oprah needs to take a 4-year cruise? I mean, seriously, you think Jeff Bezos needs to take a 4-year cruise? Or what's his name? Bill Gates, who now says he'd be happy to work with Trump if Trump would have him. You heard that one? Bill Gates now, I'd be happy to work with Trump. After bashing the man for years. Yeah, I'm sure that'll work out. I'm sure that could work out. Bill Gates, he needs a bra. Have you seen him lately? Bill Gates needs a man's ear. Who knows what a man's ear is from? He needs or alternately, he could wear a bro. RL30 says, I don't know about the US, but in Europe, you have to change your address and official paperwork if you leave for 4 years. I would think you would have to here, though, as well. Gary says 13 celebrities take the last cruise ship to Snarksville. Vulgar says, I can barely afford food. Vulgar display. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like all these people, you hate it so much. You can't afford that. The people they're advertising to can't afford that. They're not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But for those who can't afford the cruise, the colleges are going to help them. Oh, there you go. Gary Edwards says Seinfeld. That's right. That's right. George's father, Mr. Costanza, and what's his name? Kramer came up with an idea for a bra that men could wear when they have man boobs. And it was either going to be the man's ear or the bro. The man's ear or the bro. Oh, that was a very funny scene, by the way, when the wife watched in and saw them wearing it and testing it out. Daily Caller article, for those who can't cope and can't afford to leave the country. Safe spaces, canceled exams, and therapy ducks. How colleges help students cope with Kamala's loss. The children are our future. These are our future leaders, our future workers. You're shitting me, right? Universities are decrying President-elect Trump's victory and offering a swath of therapeutic safe space activities to help students cope with their emotions. Oh, God, we're doomed. Several universities are offering counseling services and special post-election debriefing events on campus, while professors have canceled their classes. They don't want to do it anyway, and called for a rise against the future administration, according to emails obtained by the Daily Caller. I am canceling classes today to grieve the presidential election results. Shalagapura, an assistant professor at Michigan State University, wrote to students in a class announcement Wednesday. As a queer immigrant woman of color, I cannot in good conscience go on about my day like everything is all right. If you're a queer immigrant woman of color, nothing about your day is all right. You're already manically depressed, and you've already got an ego the size of a garbage truck. This is a major historical event that we are witnessing. I hope you take this time to take care of yourself. MSU also offered students a safe space featuring therapy dogs, coloring books, and free hugs, according to an email from Jody Hancock, the director for student success at the university. Somebody has a title, the director for student success. That's a job. Therapy dogs, coloring books, and free hugs. So it's Head Start. Our 20-year-old children are in Head Start. Free hugs. You're going to give a free hug to a person that's that weak, and you're not going to expect a lawsuit for sexual harassment? Seriously? Did I miss something? Oh my God. Flukeman says, better yet, they should all take a trip to Pluto. First settlers landed on America didn't go well. Vulgar says Taylor Swift has a house in Telluride, Colorado. Let me see. Nature Nerd says safe spaces feel more triggered when you go back to the real world than before. Tuck says the rich who can't cope set sail. The rest who can't cope will just seethe. Yeah, Kimberly says bleeding heart liberals. Gosh. Thomas says that's all folks. RL30 says everything's historical. Yeah, I'm tired of that. Just because something is historical doesn't mean that it has just because something is history doesn't mean it has historical significance. And they keep trying to push every little possible thing as having historical significance, and it does not. Jane says, grow up and suck it up, college students. I know, it's disgusting. Gary says, the potbelly at the end of the rainbow safe space. I know. Free hugs, dogs. Where were the ducks? I didn't see that. Where were their ducks? Do they have therapy ducks? Is that a thing? Or is it like they give you a rubber duck like when you buy a Jeep? I'm going down a rabbit hole here. Does anybody have any idea why the hell every time I see any Jeep, any model from Jeep, car, anywhere, it's got like 50 rubber ducks glued to the dashboard? Can somebody tell me what the hell that is? Somebody help me out with that. Somebody help me out with that. Where's the ducks? I'm trying to skim ahead in the article to figure out who the hell has ducks. You know birds can't control where they defecate, right? So those ducks are going to shit all over the place. Okay, here we go. University of Oregon. The University of Oregon presented therapy animals for their election week, including Quackdivorius, the therapy duck. Quackdivorius, the therapy duck. Oh my God. Jane says, are you serious, therapy ducks? Well, there you go. Vulgar says it's a gift from people that like the Jeep. Dragon says Jeep owners place rubber ducks on each other's vehicles as a way to spread positivity, connect with fellow Jeep enthusiasts, and bring a smile to others. Really? Because I see the ducks on dashboards, and I never understood what the hell that was all about. And if I owned a Jeep and people left a rubber duck on my Jeep, I don't think I would want to glue it to my dashboard. I don't think I could get into that. Does that make sense? Do I sound like an ass? I probably am. Kimberly says, I don't think a dog and a hug are going to fix the more serious issues that they are dealing with. No, they've got deep psychological problems. They've got deep psychological problems if they can't cope with the election. You know, when Trump lost last time, I wasn't happy about it. But guess what? I didn't curl up in a ball and cry. All right? I didn't look like Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when he found out that he made out with a dude. Remember you found out towards the end of the film that the chief of police was actually a guy in drag, and he was naked, curled up on the bottom of the shower crying with his mouth just jammed full of toothpaste. Fluke says 20-year-old children while 18-year-old servicemen are dying. Yes, thank you. Children in third world go to bed hungry every night. Fear of kidnapping deleted, especially girls. Yeah, sure, great idea. Not that exactly, Fluke man. God, when I think what I was doing when I was 20, when I think what I was having to do when I was 10, And these guys are so weak and so wishy-washy. It's very sad. It's very sad, and that's very scary. Again, this is our future. The children are our future. Semperfi says they actually make a duck holder for the dash of the Wrangler. Do they? Huh. Just in case wants to know if there's any therapy skunks. The therapy skunks all work in administration. They all work in administration. And I've lost my felines. Miss Kitty left the room, but that's okay. We are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. Again, you are watching and or listening to Coffee Talk, so you can catch the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and Prepper University on the YouTube. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will catch you again.